Chris Broussard joining us after the draft last night. Man, I watched that. You know, they call it the NBA draft. I called it the Jag draft, just a guy draft.
Come on.
Man, two dudes I liked at the top. Marvin Begley would have been my number one, and the kid from Arizona, DeAndre Ayton. Bunch of dudes after that, Chris. Bunch of dudes.
What do you think they said about Steph Curry when he was picked 7th? He's a Jag. He's another dude. So watch out for Trae Young. I'm telling you. Watch out for Trae Young. The GM in Atlanta, Travis Schlenk, was an assistant GM in Golden State when they built it with Steph Curry. He's looking to build the same situation. They have nothing. So everything's going to be built around Trae Young, just like Steve Kerr did when he took over with Steph Curry. So just keep an eye on that.
Some call it the NBA draft. We have a picture. We're calling it the GAG draft. Just a guy draft. Okay.
Hold on. Jason Tatum came in this year.
People like
and played a factor in the NBA playoffs. Donovan Mitchell, some of these guys are going to make contributions this year.
Yeah, with Memphis. Last year, the guys went to better teams. That was a difference. Boston was up there. They had already been in the Eastern Conference. Now I got a bunch of Chicago, Orlando, Phoenix. Okay. So we know that I go on vacation next week. Maybe I'll just go to Russia and watch soccer. Then I come back, and it's July 2nd, and we know that Sunday and Monday, that's when you can start making verbal agreements. Here's one of these. I got to tell you, we're talking a lot about the Lakers. Chris Paul in Houston. Dude wants a max deal. Chris, I don't think he's a max player. What is Houston going to do here? What is your intel?
What I'm hearing is that there's tension now between Houston and Chris Paul. Not irreparable tension, but there's some tension because there was obviously a handshake, wink, wink, however you want to describe it, deal or agreement between Chris and Houston when he left 4 years, $175 million on the table with the Clippers. Okay? You don't leave that type of money on the table unless they're like, look, we're going to take care of you, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. Now, Houston, from what I'm told, is hesitant to do that. And here's the thing. They have an out because they got new ownership. So now the GM, Daryl Morey, doesn't have to go to Chris and say, I'm breaking our promise. He can say, Chris, yo, you know I want to take care of you, but we got new owner. The new owner doesn't see it that way. When they made the other agreement, it's under the old ownership. So it gives you an out. Now, again, I'm not saying it's irreparable, and I'm not saying they wouldn't max him for 2 or 3 years.
He wants 4.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a team in the league that would give him the max for 4 years.
Okay, so does your intel say that the damage, the discussions, the tension is enough? Chris may be like, listen, I like L.A. better anyway. If you're only going to give me 2 or 3, I can get 2 with the Lakers.
That remains to be seen at this point. But Houston remains obviously the first option. They had a great year. He's got a great, relationship with James Harden. And the question, too, is what would the Lakers give? How many years would they give him? So I think you're thinking, do Chris and LeBron go to the Lakers? Is that where your mind is going? I see it churning.
Well, I think the Lakers have a lot of things, and I want to talk about this. Let's segue into Kawhi Leonard. Listen, there's a precedent here in the NBA. If you have a disgruntled player, and that's what Kawhi is in San Antonio, the longer you wait, the less leverage you have. You don't want to get to the trading deadline, and what team's going to go, okay, we'll rent him now for 3 months and put him on a team where none of our guys have ever played with him. You can make the argument that there would be a GM that would say, I'll give you a first-round pick to rent him for a year to a good team, Boston, try to convince him, bro.
Win a championship or get to the finals.
Yeah. I could see Danny Ainge going, all right, I'll give you our next number 1 pick, and I'll give you Jaylen Brown. And by the way, we win a title. Kawhi's like, are you crazy? I can't leave. But so my whole point is,
Philadelphia could be in the same position. Yeah.
So the longer you wait in this league, generally with a disgruntled player, the less you get because people sense you're desperate. You got nothing now. My feeling is Popovich could be hurting himself over his rigidity and stubbornness. What do you think prevails here?
Well, look, waiting right now, they got so many different dates that they could make a trade. They could make a trade going into training camp. They could make one in the summer. They could make one before the deadline. They could make one earlier in the season. So because they're not making a trade now doesn't mean they're waiting until February. That's when they would really be desperate, because then if you don't make a deal, you're losing for nothing.
Nothing.
But they could be looking at it like, look, we got the whole summer. We got training camp. We got the first few months of the season to make it good. R.C. Buford said yesterday, our intention is to keep Kawhi.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of time to try to work the relationship out. Let me throw this out, because I think we both have felt like recently LeBron's going to go to the Lakers. There is a potential, though, for the Lakers to actually strike out this summer, because Paul George, there's a growing sentiment that he'll stay in Oklahoma City. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But that's what people are thinking, including some people close to LeBron. So let's say that happens. He stays in OKC. And then Kawhi is not traded by the Spurs this summer to the Lakers. So the question is, does LeBron James go to L.A. by himself and absolutely waste a year? And he's at the age where he doesn't have time to waste years, because they would have absolutely no chance to win a championship.
They'd probably go to a 46-win team. They'd make the playoffs as a 7 or an 8 seed.
And but here's my thing. LeBron doesn't have to become a free agent. So under that scenario, if Kawhi and George don't move, what about the option of just opting into his contract, staying one more year in Cleveland? His son is going into 8th grade, not high school. So you still have a year before he goes to high school. And then playing it out in Cleveland, nobody expects you to go to the finals. If you get to the finals, you're going to be praised. And, then in 2019, there's the option of Kawhi and LeBron going to the Lakers together. Or you learn more about Philadelphia and some of these other situation. So maybe there'll be better options in 2019. You don't like that. You want him out of Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, man. You need to think about it. I have been told that Cleveland's still an option, too.
Yeah, I believe that. No. This is why I said 2 days ago, you may have been on the show, you got to get Paul George first. The other thing here is, you know what Paul George is hearing watching shows like this, watching Undisputed, watching all these networks? He's the third guy. Yeah. You got to give Paul George some love. You got to go to Paul George and say, Paul, you are the linchpin in this. We want you first. Because if I sit around and watch TV, these athletes,
You're right.
No,
there's no question.
He's sitting around hearing, Kawhi, LeBron, we don't need Paul George. No. The one guy I think you could land by July 1st is, because you don't control Kawhi, Pop does. You don't control LeBron, LeBron does. You go to him and say, baby, we love you. You're our guy. Arms around you. You land him, at minimum, you take all these young Lakers, all improving. You now have 3 forwards, Kuzma, Ingram, Paul George, all nice players.
Yes. And look, let me say something to Paul George. I hope he's watching, listening, whatever. Think about Philadelphia. Think about Philadelphia. Now, they would love Kawhi Leonard, and they got some assets yesterday in the draft that could help them facilitate a Kawhi Leonard trade. The risk, of course, is would Kawhi stay past 2019? Paul George, if you go to Philadelphia, you are the first or second leading scorer on the team. You would have an absolutely great chance of reaching the NBA Finals. You would be an all-star every year. In the West, you might not be an all-star. You barely made it this year. You went on an alternate, okay? That affects Hall of Fame, legacy, everything, and that matters to players, and it should. So, Paul, look at Philadelphia. Look at Philadelphia. That's what he needs to do. Listen to me. I'm serious.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Do you
Man,
think
your Lakers colors, I just see them all over your shirt.
Hey.
You want them.
Hold on, time out.
You don't want to hear anything that's not getting LeBron, Kawhi, and George to the Lakers.
I want a camera on me. Put a camera on me up tight. What is this, folks? That's called Big J journalism here. I don't root for anybody. Broussard, that is...
All right. I'll take you at your word.
Okay, stick around. Back in a second. But the Lakers actually can offer a really nice package to the Spurs for Kawhi. They can give them Kawhi Light. Historically, you never get equal value, Chris, you know this, in a trade for a star. And we're talking about a guy that was the youngest MVP final ever, Kawhi Leonard.
Finals, yep.
You're not going to get the equal. But Kuzma and Ingram average 16 points a game, and both are not close to where they'll top out at. So in the system of San Antonio, with a great legendary Hall of Fame coach, could Brandon Ingram go from 16.5 to 21? Could Kuzma go from 16 as a rookie to 21? Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do with Luke Walton this year. So if I get Kawhi light and the Lakers say, take Alonzo, take a draft pick, because if LeBron comes, they don't need a point guard. But here's what's interesting. I do think the Lakers offer the most. But in the break, you brought up an interesting point. Why the Spurs should stall it, at least for a while.
Well, yeah, look, not only do the Spurs not want to give Kawhi what he wants and send him to a conference rival, they don't want to strengthen the conference rival in any way, so they don't want LeBron going there either.
And if Kawhi went to L.A. in the next 2 weeks, LeBron's like, decision made. LeBron makes his decision. You're better off, if you're the Spurs, at least stretching it out some.
There's no reason for the Spurs to make a trade of Kawhi in the next 2 weeks. No reason whatsoever. Number one, you want to convince him to stay. You at least give it some time. You got Greg Popovich, one of the great respected people in this league. You have time for him to talk with Kawhi to see if he can work this thing out. You have time also to talk with Kawhi or Kawhi's people and let them think about, well, what about Boston? That's a good look. What about Philadelphia? That's a good look. So other options could come your way. And as we said, that could stall LeBron James from going to a conference rival as well. Here's what most executives that I've talked to about this just over the years have said. You never want to trade a superstar within your conference. But at the end of the day, you have to do whatever makes your team better. And if that deal is within your conference, then you have to do it.
This is what Joy Taylor and I tried to tell crazy Rob Parker yesterday. And he was getting into this. I'd never do it. Now, first of all, don't ever say never when it comes to personnel. Like, my theory is if you get divorced in life, you got to find your own happiness. You can't worry about who you left or who left you. In the end, if I'm the Spurs, I want the best pieces because by the way, I trust my system. My system's won games. My system's made me rich. My system created a dynasty. I'm going to take that Laker player, and I'm going to make him better than Luke Walton would and the Lakers would. I don't think you can be paralyzed when you have a divorce situation in business or life by what you're losing. You have to rebuild and be concerned about that.
The challenge is this. They could get a great package as well from Boston. Or, I don't think as good, but Philadelphia could offer him something good too. I don't think the Lakers, their package could be great. I mean, Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma in San Antonio with Greg Popovich, I think he could really make them great players. And then Lonzo Ball. And I wonder if, look, LeVar's getting he's taking some L's. Okay, LiAngelo wasn't drafted. To nobody's surprise, but LeVar thought he'd get drafted. He's not going to be in the Lakers Summer League. Let's see if he's with any team in the Summer League. And if Lonzo were to get traded, would LeVar just start to be like, let me tone it. Let me just let my guy play. Let Lonzo play. If we were traded to San Antonio, I wouldn't be so surprised if LeVar might just step back, run the JBA, and, let Lonzo play. Because there's no way I see LeVar as he is now coexisting with that San Antonio culture.
Okay, so I suggested that to keep LeBron, the Cavs should have moved Kevin Love in the number 8 pick. Because once you drive that number 8 pick off the lot, the value goes way down. There's a lot of hope, though, with the number 8 pick. Yet there hasn't been an all-star picked at the number 8 spot in the draft since 1993, Vin Baker. And half the guys drafted have been absolute busts.
Yeah, but there have been all-stars at 7 or later.
Well,
Donovan Mitchell was 13, so.
You trust the Cavs to land Donovan Mitchell?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, so last night they get Colin Sexton. 3 assists a game, not a pure shooter, kind of a small frame, nice little player. You think that's keeping LeBron in Cleveland?
If LeBron stays in Cleveland, it won't be because of Colin Sexton. I asked someone that would know how much last night's draft impacted LeBron's decision, and the direct quote I got was 0.
Thank you.
Okay. However, as I said earlier, there is reason for LeBron. There could be mounting reason
Why?
for LeBron to stay in Cleveland.
Oh, please.
As I said, if Kawhi stays in San Antonio, at least for the summer, if Paul George stays in Oklahoma City, why go to L.A. where it's absolutely a wasted year if you go by yourself? Because you're not getting to the finals. At least in Cleveland, you would at least have a shot at winning a championship. Here's why. Let me explain. They wouldn't be the favorites in the East. Boston, Philadelphia would be ahead of them. But they'd have a shot just because you have the best player in the world of getting to the finals again for the ninth straight time for LeBron. And once you get there, hey, you take your chances. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe there's a suspension like in 2016. And let's face it, the Cavs did, even though they were overmatched. They got the best player in the world, and they had a chance to win 2 of the first 3 games. So all I'm saying is if you go back to Cleveland, theoretically, you have a chance to win a championship, a slim one. But in L.A., you have no chance. None.
Let me ask you this.
By yourself.
You go by Paul George goes OKC. Don't think it happens, but it does. And then you go to L.A. by yourself. By the way, with 3 young players all getting better and a coach you like a lot, and Magic Johnson's a good recruiter.
Second round at best, right?
Why doesn't LeBron just call Kawhi on the phone and say, dude, I'm going to go by myself. I love you and I want you. And then eventually Kawhi just says, Mr. Popovich. He goes once again. This is where Kawhi controls this. What if Kawhi comes out in another week and says, I'm only going to the Lakers? It kills the Spurs. They don't have any choices now.
That could happen.
That's what I do if I'm Kawhi.
But here's the thing. If LeBron goes to the Lakers, talks to Kawhi, and the agreement between him to Kawhi is like, okay, I'm coming in 2019. Now, we've been hearing for 2 years Paul George is going to the Lakers. Now that's up in the air. At least that's the speculation. What if Kawhi gets traded to Boston or Philly and they get to the finals? Or I don't think they win it. Boston would have a chance to win it.
Oh, yeah.
What if he goes to Boston and they win it? Do you think he's leaving? That changes everything. So there's just so much up in the air. And does LeBron James want to go to the Lakers by himself?
I think he has the confidence to bet on himself, and he would, along with Magic, be able to lure at least one other great teammate.
There's no way they could win it.
Well, again,
next year with just LeBron. You know that. In the West. If they were in the East, they could win the East. But the West?
I still think the big story today is Chris Paul and Houston are at odds. That was your big story. You broke it.
Right.
That's a big deal. That's not a little deal. Chris Paul and Houston, according to,
little tension. I'm not saying he's not going to end up there, but little tension.
This show is about journalism.
Hey, on this show, what I tell you about Kyrie Irving? Going to miss the rest of the regular season and playoffs, right?
You know what we called that? That was a big J day in the herd. You broke that story.
Hey, it's scuttlebutt going on.
My
ears are open.
You know what, man? This is such a glorious time. I was sitting watching that draft last night, and we got free agency coming up, and I'm like, I can remember years ago, the finals ended, I went right into baseball talk. I mean, you can't. You got the draft, you got the free agency talk. Good stuff. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.